Welcome to Big Boof Bets. It's the Dat Money podcast. I am Nate Stephenson, and I'm joined by the sure to be smack talking Big Boofy Scureman and the big beautiful ball of deadpanning wit that is Tony T-Bone Guarino. I'd ask how everybody's doing, but I think I already know what's coming, so you might as well hit me with it, Boof.
It's not going to be too bad, man. I had a decent week. The locks went 3-2-1. And I don't want to say most importantly because the locks are most important. But very high on the importance scale, we had two picks last week that you and I disagreed on. And I didn't necessarily get to pizza box them, so in that sense, it was a little disappointing. But Nate had the under, and he was really championing for us to use it as a lock with the Dolphins and with the Jets and Broncos on Thursday night. And I believe that number was at 40. Now, Nate, how did we do on that one? I feel like we were almost covering that one at halftime.
I believe the total was way higher than that.
Way higher than that, yes. Yes, it was. So we had that one. And, I like to just pound my chest about how I was right. And then Sunday comes along, and I was championing for us to take the over in the Browns-Cowboys game and get that on the lock slate. And Nate just didn't want to get on board. Well, Cleveland almost hit it by themselves. They hit 49 for us. And sure enough, we hit that one by at least like over 30. So Nate was down by like 50 points, if you will, as far as the over and unders that he got wrong and I got right. So I was very happy about that, in addition to just winning a couple units based off of our locks and a couple nice props for me.
Do you care to share how you were giving the live update of how many points were projected? Browns game?
Yeah, I could give a quick one for you. Just Nate and I both are fans of mathematics, and so is Tone. And so, it's like in the first quarter of the Cowboys and Dolphins game, and as you all know, we all watch the games together. And it's like 14-7 with like 3 minutes left in the first quarter. And so I turned to Nate, and I'm like, "Hey, Nate, what's 21 times 4?" And you see Nate kind of like look up in the air doing the math. So he's like, 84. I was like, "Is that above 54?" He's like, "You're a dick." So I did that over and over during the first half and pretty much throughout the entire game as the Cowboys and Browns were well on pace to cover the over for the entire game.
I'd say that's a pretty accurate description. But anyway.
Anyway, Tone, how you doing?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Glendale's pretty landlocked, right? It's not near any large body of water either, huh?
Yeah, you might need maybe an earthquake there, maybe something like that.
Oh yeah, I guess they're probably near a fault line or something out there. Maybe just like a dust tornado or something to carry the stadium away. I'm not sure. Anyways,
we could get Mexico to annex it.
That's probably more likely these days. So yeah, that's probably good. But other than that, boy, it was a wild Sunday for sure. It was a lot of fun. So definitely looking forward to diving into Week 5 with you guys.
Let's do it.
All right, well, let's kick things off Thursday with the red-hot Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Chicago Bears. Bucs are laying 4.5, and your over-unders at 44.
So amazing what happens when the Bears actually face a semi-legitimate football team last week. They lose! Guess what? They're facing an even better team this week in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So I will gladly lay the 4.5. I hope it gets down to 4. I'll like that even better. But I still think anything under a touchdown here with the Buccaneers is pretty safe. They are going to be down Chris Godwin. The other injury situation with a couple of their other wide receivers, Evans looking like he's going to play, Scotty Miller looking like he's going to play, and Watson, to my knowledge, also looking like he's going to play. They did lose O.J. Howard for the year with an Achilles injury, but they are one of the few teams that have the luxury of still having two very, very high-quality tight ends after that in Cameron Brate and, of course, Rob Gronkowski. So still their depth at tight end, still fine there. Tampa Bay still having a top-tier defense, and Chicago last week faced a top-tier defense in the Colts and scored 3 points the majority of the game and got a touchdown in desperate garbage time last night to actually get to 10 points. So even if the Tampa Bay offense doesn't go absolutely nuts, I still feel comfortable covering that, and I love -4.5. How about you, Boof?
Yeah, I think I'm with you, buddy. You touched on the injury situation, so that is pause for concern. But I do have confidence that we're going to get most of those guys in the game. And the Bears, like you said, they played the Colts, sure, a high-end defense last week, and they were about 4 minutes away from only scoring 3 points. So I think you're in for a similar matchup. The Nick Foles magic has run out a little bit already with him coming off the bench and then having to start a game, big difference. And I like Tampa Bay to cover here, -4.5. And we will be kicking off the slate on a Thursday night with our first lock of the week.
Oh, yeah, lock it in. Get that money.
All right, let's move on into Sunday, where we will kick things off with everyone's favorite Arizona Cardinals at the New York Jets. Cardinals are going to lay a touchdown here, laying 7 with the over-under at 47.
I'm going to do it again, but I'm telling you right now, if the Cardinals screw me again this week, we are going to have major, major issues with the Arizona Cardinals for the rest of the year. They literally are going to be in lock jail probably for the rest of the season. So this is purely a bet against the Jets bet right now until the Cards show me something else, because I still know that the Cards aren't horrible. I think they've had 2 bad weeks, so I'm going to give them another chance. But at the very least, bet against the Jets has been profitable. It will still be profitable. And you take that, add in the fact they still have injuries on the offensive line. They are without their first and second string left tackle. Darnold might not even play this week due to his shoulder injury. Still unsure if he's going to practice this week. So that means you're looking at potentially Joe Flacco. Yes, he still plays football. Joe Flacco at quarterback, which is surprisingly enough a downgrade if you can possibly get any worse. Yes, the Jets can possibly get worse, which makes me even more happy to lay 7 points with the Cardinals. So all that said, I will still happily lay 7 points with the Cardinals, in large part because the Jets suck.
You know, Einstein has a theory about, doing something over and over and expecting a different result. That doesn't apply to football, though, baby. I like the Cardinals -7. This is more of a bet against the Jets. Kind of like Nate was saying. You just got to understand, this team is awful. We said it 2 weeks ago. Anything that's under 14, I'm going to like whoever they're playing against. I still feel that way. I think the Cardinals are better than they've been the last 2 weeks. Beyond the Cardinals -7, I think you can look for attractive numbers from Kyler Murray. So if you get like anything under 35 yards rushing or like 260 passing, I would look to hit the overs on those. I don't know. I love the Cards -7, and we are 2 for 2 as far as locks go this week.
Oh, yeah, lock it in. Get that money.
Up next, we have the Carolina Panthers at the Atlanta Falcons. Falcons laying 3 in your over-under at 54.5.
Wow, how a couple weeks have changed things. There's absolutely no way I'd have been saying this a few weeks ago, but I really like Carolina +3 here. Matt Rule's got the boys in Carolina here going pretty good. They're up to 2-2. At this point in the year, definitely overperforming expectations, especially without McCaffrey in the lineup. And then you have the Falcons, who are really, really good at figuring out ways to lose, and especially blow leads. So honestly, one of my favorite bets might be the Falcons
leading
and betting on the other team on the live line. I mean, that's until they prove they can actually win a game when they're ahead. That might not be a bad bet at all, especially for profitability standards here. But all joking aside, the Falcons, they've looked good early in the year, and then the injuries have just hit them really, really hard. A lot in the secondary. I know Booth can expound on that some here, but I know for a fact they're without their 2 starting safeties, and that they got a 3rd safety injured last night against the Packers. So all of that, considering how Carolina has looked with who they've played, Teddy looking good, them scoring points on offense. Like I said, Matt Rule having them progress at a quicker rate than I expected. I'm getting 3 points with Carolina here. I will gladly take 3 points with Carolina here.
Yeah, it is a total of 6 defensive backs that have been injured for the Falcons. Julio Jones is also not expected to play. The Panthers were able to hold DeAndre Hopkins in check a little bit. So no Julio Jones. You got Calvin Ridley. I expect them to be able to hold him in check at least enough. And the Panthers have won 2 in a row. The Falcons are 0-4. I love the Panthers as well. They're at +3. They were at 3.5. They're actually down to 2.5 on FanDuel. So I would say jump on this one as quick as possible before everything goes under 3. But I love the Panthers at +3. And that is a 3rd lock on the slate for this week.
Oh, I love it. Lock it in. Get that money.
Up next, we have the Cincinnati Bengals at the Baltimore Ravens. Ravens laying 12.5 and the over-under at 51.5.
Bungles are still the Bungles. Baltimore beats the Bungles. Baltimore normally scrubs the Bungles. Baltimore's only laying less than 2 touchdowns. Lay the points with the Ravens. It's a beatdown.
Yeah, Baltimore has had a bit of a trend of being able to whoop up on lower teams. They did cover a similar number last week against Washington. The last time they played Cincinnati, I know no Burrow then, but I believe it was 49-13. I expect more of the same here. Give me the Ravens -12.5. And I'd have to check with a historian if we ever get one on the show, but this might be the first time we've locked the first 4 games of a slate.
I think you might be right. And by the way, lock it in. Get that money.
My goodness, we're going to lock everyone this week. Guess we're about to find out. Let's kick it on over to the Jacksonville Jaguars at the Houston Texans. Texans laying 6 and your over-under at 54.5.
A big part of me here wants to lay the points with Houston. I just don't see them losing 5 weeks in a row. And with the trend, with how the Jags have been trending downwards, I think this is a great spot for them to get a win. Combine that with normally there is a little bit of a boost in morale. However that works with the firing of a coach, which, by the way, I think was a long time coming for Bill O'Brien in Houston. But it's just there's still a part of me with what Minshew is able to do on offense for the Jags that just gives me a little bit of hesitation with laying 6 points with the Texans here. So I'm going to pass the spread. I definitely will be putting the Houston money line in some parlays, though.
Yeah, this honestly was one that we were considering locking. The thinking being Jags are 1-3. They haven't won since week 1. They're kind of returning to how we felt they were before the season started. Texans obviously fired Bill O'Brien. We know Deshaun Watson hasn't been happy about it, or at least couldn't have been happy about it after they traded away DeAndre Hopkins. J.J. Watt had some comments after this week's game expressing his lack of satisfaction with the way things were being run and going as far as saying, things need to change around here. And sure enough, the following day, Bill O'Brien gets fired. So I do think you can expect a bit of an energy boost for the Texans. It is only 6, but they just haven't played well enough this year. And I could blame the schedule for the first 3 games, but I'm not that high on the Vikings. And they weren't able to get it done last week either. So -6 is too much for me to lay. It is a pass.
All right, moving on, we have the Las Vegas Raiders at the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs are going to lay 12.5, and your over-under is at 55.5.
Well, I think we're at a 5-week streak to start the season here. But come on now. Chiefs. Enough said. Boof.
Yeah, I mean, the Chiefs have actually covered this number against the Raiders the last 3 times they've played them. Vegas has some injuries on defense. They've been bad on defense. And I think Carr's going to be put in a spot where he's going to have to try and keep up. And I think you can expect some turnovers from him. and I expect the Chiefs to roll. Give me the Chiefs minus 13.5. That's another lock for us this week.
Oh, yeah, lock it in. Get that money.
On record pace already. All right, up next we have the Los Angeles Rams at the Washington football team. Rams laying 7.5, and you're over/under at 45.5.
Well, the Washington football team still sucks. I still look at the Rams as one of the better teams, not only in the NFC, but in the league. So we're laying just over a touchdown here. If you made me pick, I would still lay it. I would like it a lot better at 7 as opposed to 7.5. So I think we're going to introduce here a little bit, since we record so early in the week, is if Boofy will agree with me here, if the Rams get down to 7, because I could definitely see, the professional numbers guys jumping on the over a touchdown line, I would love to get the Rams at -7. And if they do go down to that, I am all about that number. What say you, Boof?
Yeah, I see it the same way. And so we typically record on a Tuesday, and it's just early in the week. So when you see something that's like a 3.5, 7.5, 10.5, 14.5, etc., anything that's just off, one of the big checkpoints for field goal and touchdown scores, it is smart to just keep an eye on it as much as you possibly can and wait for the number that you want. So if you were feeling Washington, you would want to take this because it's just over a touchdown. Now would be a good time to take it for you. If you're feeling the Rams, which Nate and myself are, it's wise to just kind of wait and hope that you can get it down to 7. So we are going to conditionally lock this. If we are able to get it down to 7, we are going to call it a lock. So we have a conditional lock on the Rams -7.
I like it. Lock it in. Get that money.
Maybe. All right, our final 1 o'clock game will be the Philadelphia Eagles at the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers laying 7, and you're over/under at 44.5.
Mike Tomlin is a great coach and would never, ever let a team like this lose to a team like the Eagles. Ever. He has never done this ever in his coaching career.
Ha 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 ha.
All right, so we all know that's not true, but I do like the Steelers laying 7, in large part due to the Eagles' injuries, and their whole division is just bad. Their whole division is horrible. You have a rested Steelers team at home with basically, I would say, 2 weeks to prepare. If it was a normal bye week situation, it's not. Basically a week and a half to prepare. But still, you have the Steelers at home waiting for the Eagles, only laying 7 points. The Eagles playing a Sunday night game, still a lot of injuries, have to travel back from the West Coast. And again, I don't think they're a very good football team. So if the Steelers are who we think they are, and this is doing my best to remove my bias, I love them to win, and I feel pretty confident with how they've been playing offensively and how good their defense is talent-wise, that I expect to continue to gel and improve throughout the year. I think laying 7's a pretty safe bet, and I will gladly do so.
I am not quite as on board with you with laying the entire 7 points here. Most of Philadelphia's injuries are on offense, so I can understand your point as far as the defense being in control of the game. But defensively, Philly has been playing well, and especially their defensive line, I could see giving the Steelers' offensive line trouble, which can cause trouble for the entire offense. So for that reason, I am afraid to lay an entire 7 points, and I personally will be passing.
Yinzer Nate would be happy with your passing. Real Nate is not happy with your passing.
Sorry, buddy.
All right, switching things over to the late afternoon games. We will start things off with the Miami Dolphins at the San Francisco 49ers. A bit of sportsbook turmoil right now, on and off, but it is currently out there at the 49ers laying 8.5. No over-under available.
Doesn't matter. Don't care about the total in this game. I do like getting the points with Miami. More often than not, Mr. Fitzmagic with his voodoo magic normally comes in the back door, and that might not even be necessary this game with how injured the 49ers are. So I'm getting 8.5 points with Miami here. I've seen 9.5 on books that we don't use, so we're going to go with 8.5. I still feel pretty good about that. We're over a touchdown. So I really, really like that. I think Miami is at a quicker pace than they were last year in terms of improving as the year goes on. And like I said, you have the Niners here, ton of injuries, especially on defense, which a guy like Fitzpatrick can take advantage of. So I like getting the points here with Miami.
Yeah, Miami has covered plus 8.5, or I should say would have covered a number at plus 8.5 in 3 out of their 4 games, including this week against Seattle with Russell Wilson at the helm. Part of the reason why this line is not available yet everywhere is the uncertainty with Jimmy Garoppolo. Whether Jimmy G plays or not, he's nowhere near as good as Russell Wilson as far as I'm concerned. And that offense is not as good as the Seattle offense. And defensively, they have a ton of injuries. I love the Dolphins plus 8.5, and that's another lock for us this week.
Oh, yeah, lock it in. Get that money.
Okay, up next, we have the Denver Broncos at the New England Patriots. Recently getting itself back on the books, we have the Patriots laying 7.5 and the over-under at 47.5.
So obviously the big deal with this game is Cam Newton going to play or not. And if Cam Newton doesn't play, then I want no parts of this game as far as the spread goes. I would still lean for New England to win the game just because Bill Belichick will figure out a way to win most games. I know because I just watched that last night. Like he kept the game close against the best team in the league when he had no business doing so. None. Which actually led me to believe that if he'd had Cam Newton, the Patriots might have had a chance of beating the Chiefs last night. So that's definitely something that I'm going to put in my memory bank for the rest of the season. But to get back to the topic at hand, if Cam Newton does play, and I'm hearing there is a chance of that, then I do like laying the points here with New England. The Broncos, with all their injuries, are not a very good football team. The Patriots, because of freaking Bill Belichick and his genius, are always a good football team. So if you're gonna give me around a touchdown, I will lay it, even if it's at 7.5. I personally would advise waiting until it gets down to 7 because I think with the unsurety of whether or not Cam is going to play, I could see that getting down to a touchdown. I would bet the Patriots definitely at laying a touchdown if Cam plays.
Well, Nate, they are at a -7 right now. Sadly, we do not have any confirmation on whether Cam will be playing or not. The other part of this, I mean, Drew Lock might even suit up for Denver. So we got uncertainty at each quarterback position. This is a pass for me.
All right, up next, we have the Indianapolis Colts at the Cleveland Browns. Colts laying 1.5 and the over-under at 47.5.
Knee-jerk reaction here is I want to bet the Colts because the Browns just went against a team with a really, really bad defense in the Cowboys last week, which, in my opinion, made their offense look a lot better than it was. And also, conversely, the Browns are going to face a lot better defense than they faced last week. So my lean is the Colts, but I just can't trust Phillip Rivers, and the Browns do have some offensive firepower. So I'm going to pass the game.
Yeah, I'm going to pass as well, and I really don't even see anything I would even lean on. There is not a whole lot to like in this game for me.
Okay, well, the final 4 o'clock game will be the New York Giants at the Dallas Cowboys. Cowboys laying 9.5 and your over-under at 54.
I really want to take the points with the Giants here, but my God, that egg they laid against the 49ers second stringers 2 weeks ago is just, oh my God, I can't get rid of that. So in the end, that's the thing that's going to make me pass. But if you made me pick a side, I'd say take the points with the Giants here just because the Dallas defense is so bad. And if this is a division game and the Giants have some firepower on offense, so I think they can take advantage of those Cowboys injuries on defense. So I think the side to take is taking the points with the Giants, but I just can't trust either side in this game to lock anything in.
Yeah, I know when we talked about this, Nate was a big fan of the Giants plus 9.5, but they haven't scored over 20 points yet this season. I know Dallas's defense has been horrible, but I don't know. I just can't trust New York here. And I don't know. Everything else is just no good. I entertained the over at 54, but again, I just don't know if the Giants are going to do their part. You can look at the Dallas team total. It's 32.5. I mean, that's a pretty high number. If I were to do anything, I would take that, but still not enough for me to really go gung-ho about it. So it's a pass.
Okay, so that takes us to our Sunday night matchup, which will feature the Minnesota Vikings at the Seattle Seahawks. The Seahawks laying 7 and the over-under at 57.5.
Tone, I'm really disappointed right now. Kirk Cousins is playing in a Sunday night game on the West Coast on turf. Any comments?
Well, everybody does know before primetime football games, Kirk Cousins does put his left shoe on before his right shoe, which we have seen lead to passing accuracy issues.
For sure. Oh my God. Yeah, I can't trust anybody in this game. And I say that because the biggest reason let me rewind that back. You can trust Russell Wilson in this game to score a lot of points. That's going to happen. The biggest thing preventing me from laying the points with the Seahawks is just their defense has been very porous in the first quarter of this season so far. And to lay a touchdown, I can't in good conscience do that, especially with the Vikings showing a pulse on offense, showing improvement, having some playmakers. I like the Seahawks to win, but laying a touchdown, I just can't do it.
Yeah, it's one of those situations where if you made me, I would lay the 7 with Seattle. But if I'm laying 7, I got to really think you're significantly better than this team and you're going to whoop them. And that's not the case. And then so you say, well, why don't you take the other side? It's because I just don't trust the Vikings. So I wouldn't be shocked at all if Seattle does in fact cover this. It's just it's too much for me to actually lay with them. I am going to pass.
Okay, wrapping things up with our Monday Night Football matchup between the almost San Diego Chargers, the Los Angeles Chargers at the New Orleans Saints. The Saints laying 8, and you're over-under at 51.
Knee-jerk reaction here for sure was for me to take the points with the Chargers here just because of how they've looked offensively the more that Herbert's got to play with them. I don't think them almost upsetting and scoring the amount of points that they did on the Buccaneers last week is anything to wave your nose at all. Buccaneers have a very quality defense, not anywhere near in the same category as the Saints, who are definitely much worse. So I do like getting the 8 points with the Chargers here, but I do think, personally speaking, the best bet is over the 51, just because the Saints, no matter how bad Drew Brees has looked at the beginning of the season, have got it together offensively some. You have Michael Thomas that's supposed to be back this week. And again, as I said, the Chargers are just improving by the week on offense. So I actually really like over 51 points this week, which I know was a big surprise to Boof that I like an over. But yes, I do like an over. It does happen.
I hear you on your logic and everything. My problem is 3 of the 4 games that the Chargers have played in have not gone over that number. So for me, that is what scares me away. That also includes one of those games being against the Chiefs. If you can't play the Chiefs and hit an over, I mean, who are we going to play to hit an over? So not something I trust enough to bet on it. One thing to keep an eye out for, Justin Herbert's passing total this past week came in at 225 yards. His 2 games before that were 311 and 330. And then last week, he followed that up with a 290, which obviously was above 225. Easy cover. So pay attention to what his passing yards total is going to be. If that is anything under 250, I say no question, hit that one. And that would be my favorite pick of the game if you can get something like that.
I like that. That's pretty good.
All right, well, that will wrap up our Week 5 matchups. So now, Boofy, I'll toss it back to you. As always, you want to recap the locks for us?
Oh, we can do that. We have on Thursday night the Tampa Bay Buccaneers -4.5. Then the Cardinals -7. Panthers +3. Ravens -12.5. Chiefs also -12.5. We have a conditional lock with the Rams -7. And the Dolphins at +8.5. And I know, Nate, you had a parlay or two that you wanted to share with the people.
Oh, Nate always has some parlays to share with the people. Of course, if you've been listening, as I've said before, any combination of teasing the locks, I think, is always a good decision. Most of the time, if a lock does not hit, doesn't miss by much. So that's always advisable. But I wanted to share one of my favorite parlays this week as far as safe and profitability goes. And it is an 8-leg parlay. We're just going to go all money line this week, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to keep it nice and simple. We're going to go Tampa Bay money line. We're going to go Arizona Cardinals halftime, full time, which I will explain in a moment. Baltimore Ravens halftime, full time. Los Angeles Rams money line, Steelers money line, Seahawks money line, Saints money line, and the Kansas City Chiefs halftime, full time. Again, that is an 8-leg parlay, which will give you plus 1272 odds, which means a $100 bet will win you $1,272. And to expound upon what I said, when I said halftime, full time, basically one of the things that I like to do is if you have a team that is very highly favored, that you expect to wipe the field with their opponent. We definitely have a few of those this week. You can actually take what's called a halftime, full-time line, which basically means instead of just the straight end of game money line, they have to be winning at halftime, just winning, and winning at the end of regulation, not including overtime. So that, again, those are two extra possibilities that lower your odds. That up the odds in your favor for a team that you expect to pretty much take care of business that day. So the fact that we like the Cardinals, the Ravens, and the Chiefs so much, I think it's a pretty safe bet to just go halftime, full time when you're going money line to up your odds. So that is what I decided to do. And again, like I said, it gives me a pretty nice payout of plus 1272.
Well, I think that's awesome, man. Thank you for sharing. And I know I've stolen a couple tips from you when I do decide to put a parlay in myself, whether it's going to a halftime line or a halftime full time or buying points or anything. I've really learned a lot from you. So thank you for sharing. If there's nothing else, I think it's time to roll out of here. So be sure to like, subscribe, and tell all your friends about the podcast. Best of luck to everybody, and let's get that money.
Get that money!